Jake Miller rubbed his tired eyes and looked at the stars outside his ship's window. He had been flying alone for 3 weeks now, carrying supplies to the mining stations near the asteroid belt. The job was boring, but it paid well enough to keep his small cargo ship running. His ship was called the Star Runner. It was old and not very pretty, but Jake loved it. He had bought it with money he saved from working at the spaceport on Mars. Now he was his own boss, flying wherever the work took him. The radio crackled with static. Jake turned the volume down and went back to reading his book. He was halfway through a story about old Earth when his ship's alarm started beeping. Something was showing up on his scanner. Jake put down his book and looked at the screen. There was a small object floating about 2 miles away. It looked like an escape pod, the kind that shot out of ships when they were in trouble. But there were no distress signals coming from it. "That's weird," Jake said to himself. He had never seen another ship out here. The mining stations were still days away, and most pilots took different routes to avoid the asteroid field. Jake thought about calling the Space Patrol, but they were too far away to help. If someone was in that pod, they might be dying while he waited for help to arrive. He made up his mind and turned his ship toward the pod. As he got closer, Jake could see that the pod was damaged. There were burn marks on its metal surface, and one side looked like it had been hit by something sharp. The pod was spinning slowly, tumbling through space like a broken toy. Jake used his ship's mechanical arm to grab the pod and pull it into his cargo bay. He put on his spacesuit and went to check it out. The pod was definitely from some kind of spaceship, but it looked different from anything he had seen before. The metal was a strange silver color, and there were symbols on it that he did not recognize. Jake found the emergency release button and pressed it. The pod opened with a soft hiss and white mist poured out. When the mist cleared, Jake gasped. Inside the pod was a girl who looked about his age, maybe a little younger. But she was not human. Her skin was a soft blue color, like the sky on a clear day. Her hair was silver and seemed to glow in the light. She was wearing clothes that looked like they were made from some kind of shiny fabric. The girl was unconscious and breathing very slowly. Jake could see blood on her clothes and cuts on her arms. Someone had hurt her badly before she got into the pod. Jake carefully lifted the girl out of the pod and carried her to his ship's medical bay. It was just a small room with a bed and some basic medical equipment, but it was all he had. He laid her down on the bed and started cleaning her wounds. As he worked, Jake noticed more things that proved she was not human. Her blood was a darker red than human blood, almost purple. Her fingers were longer than they should be, and her ears came to small points. But she looked so much like a human girl that it was hard to believe she was from another world. Jake had taken some medical training when he got his pilot's license, and his grandmother had been a nurse. He used what he knew to bandage the girl's cuts and give her medicine for the pain. He also hooked her up to machines that would help her breathe and keep track of her heartbeat. For 2 days, the girl slept. Jake stayed close to the medical bay, checking on her every few hours. He tried to figure out where she had come from, but there were no records of any alien ships in this part of space. Earth's government said that humans had never met any other intelligent life forms. On the 3rd day, the girl opened her eyes. She looked around the room with confusion and fear. When she saw Jake, she tried to sit up quickly, but the pain from her wounds made her lie back down. She said something in a language that Jake had never heard before. The words sounded like music, but he could hear the fear in her voice. "It's okay," Jake said softly, holding up his hands to show he meant no harm. "You're safe now. I found you in an escape pod. You were hurt." The girl stared at him for a long moment. Then she spoke again, this time in broken English. "You. Help me? Why you help?" Jake was surprised that she could speak English at all. "Because you needed help," he said. "Anyone would have done the same thing." The girl shook her head. "No, not anyone. Most would fear. Most would call others." She touched one of her bandages. "You fix me. You alone?" "Yes, I'm alone." "My name is Jake. What's your name?" The girl was quiet for a moment, like she was deciding whether to trust him. Finally, she said, "I am Zara. I come from Far Place. Very far. Over the next few days, Zara got stronger. Jake learned that she was indeed from another world, part of something called the Kepler Union. She had been running from people who wanted to kill her and her family. She told him about ships that looked like shadows and people who served machines instead of other people. "They kill my parents," Zara said one day, tears in her strange, beautiful eyes. "They kill my brothers. I only one left. I run, but they follow. I think they find me soon." Jake felt angry at these people who had hurt Zara and killed her family. "They won't find you here," he promised. "I'll make sure you're safe." Zara looked at him with surprise. "You not even know me. Why you care?" Jake thought about it. "Because it's the right thing to do. Because no one should have to run and hide just for being born." On her last day on his ship, Zara gave Jake something special. It was a small crystal that seemed to glow with its own light. She put it on a chain and hung it around his neck. "This is royal seal," she said. "Very important where I come from. I give to you because you show kindness when you not have to. Maybe someday it help you." Jake wanted to give it back, but Zara would not take it. The next day, he helped her get to a space station where she could disappear among the crowds of traders and travelers. She hugged him goodbye and whispered, "I not forget your kindness, Jake Miller. Someday maybe I can return favor." Jake watched her walk away into the busy crowds of the station. He never saw her again, and after a while, he started to wonder if the whole thing had been a dream. But the crystal around his neck reminded him that it had been real. He never told anyone about meeting Zara. Who would believe him anyway? Instead, he went back to his normal life, flying cargo runs and trying to make a living among the stars. But sometimes late at night, he would look at the crystal and wonder what had happened to the blue girl he had saved. 10 years had passed since Jake Miller found the blue girl in the escape pod. He was 32 now and owned 3 cargo ships. His business was doing well, and he had a small crew of pilots who worked for him. Jake had his own office on Luna, station and a nice apartment with a view of Earth. He still flew missions himself sometimes, especially the long runs to the outer colonies. Jake liked the quiet time in space where he could think and remember old times. He often touched the crystal that Zara had given him, wondering if she was still alive somewhere among the stars. On a Tuesday morning, Jake was in his office going through shipping orders when his assistant, Mary, burst through the door. Her face was white with fear. "Jake, you need to see the news right now," she said, turning on the wall screen. The reporter on the screen looked scared too. Behind her, Jake could see people running in the streets of New Tokyo. "We repeat, massive alien ships have appeared in our solar system. These vessels are unlike anything humanity has ever built. They are positioned near Mars and appear to be waiting." Jake felt his heart stop. Alien ships. After all these years, they had finally come. The screen changed to show pictures taken by military satellites. Jake gasped when he saw them. The ships were huge, maybe 10 times bigger than Earth's largest battleships. They were beautiful too, with smooth curves and silver surfaces that seemed to glow. They looked nothing like human ships, which were all angles and hard lines. "How many ships?" Jake asked. "The military says at least 50, Mary replied. "But they're not attacking, they're just sitting there." Over the next few hours, more news came in. The alien ships had not fired any weapons or made any threatening moves. In fact, they seemed to be protecting themselves from Earth's military, which had started moving ships into position around the solar system. Then something happened that changed everything. All the screens on Earth, Luna, and Mars started showing the same message at the same time. It was a woman speaking in perfect English, but her voice had a strange musical quality to it. "People of Earth, we come in peace. We seek only one person, Captain Jake Miller. The Empress Zara Thule wishes to
meet with the one who showed her mercy among the stars 10 years ago.
We will speak with no one else until this meeting takes place." Jake's coffee cup fell from his hand and broke on the floor. Mary stared at him with wide eyes. "Jake, how do they know your name?" she whispered. Before Jake could answer, his phone started ringing. It was General Patterson from Earth Defense Command. "Miller, get to Luna Command right now," the general said without saying hello. We need to talk. The trip to Luna Command usually took an hour, but military ships picked up Jake in 20 minutes. As he rode in the fast military transport, Jake looked out at the alien ships floating near Mars. He could see them clearly now, and they were even more beautiful than the pictures had shown. At Luna Command, Jake found himself in a room full of important people. There were generals, politicians, and scientists all talking loudly and looking worried. When Jake walked in, everyone got quiet and stared at him. General Patterson was a big man with gray hair and hard eyes. He walked up to Jake and said, "Miller, what do you know about these aliens?" "I don't know anything about them," Jake lied. He was not ready to tell them about Zara yet. "Don't lie to me, son. They asked for you by name. They said something about Mercy 10 years ago." "What happened 10 years ago?" Jake thought fast. 10 years ago, I was just a small-time cargo pilot. I didn't meet any aliens." The general looked angry, but before he could say anything else, all the screens in the room turned on by themselves. The same woman's voice spoke again. "Captain Miller, we know you are at Luna Command. We wish to speak with you directly. Please, come to your ship, the Star Runner. We will meet you there." One of the scientists, Dr. Helen Cross, stepped forward. "How do they know about your ship? How do they know where you are?" Jake shook his head. "I don't know." General Patterson grabbed Jake's arm. "You're not going anywhere until you tell us what you know. This could be a trick. Maybe they want to capture you." But before anyone could stop him, Jake's phone buzzed with a text message. When he looked at it, his heart nearly stopped. The message was a picture of the crystal Zara had given him, the one hanging around his neck under his shirt. The message said, "Trust us, as we trusted you." Only Zara could have sent that message. "I have to go," Jake said quietly. "Like hell you do," General Patterson replied. "You're under protective custody until we figure out what's going on." Jake looked around the room at all the worried faces. These were good people trying to protect Earth, but they did not understand. "If I don't go, they might decide we're enemies. Do you really want to fight ships that big?" Dr. Cross spoke up. "He's right, General. We can't force them to talk to us. And if Captain Miller knows something that might help?" General Patterson was quiet for a long moment. Finally, he said, "Fine. But you're taking a military escort and you're wearing a wire so we can hear everything." Jake agreed, but he had a feeling the aliens would know about the wire and the escort ships. As he flew back to Luna Station, where the Star Runner was docked, Jake could see one of the alien ships moving closer to Luna. It was even bigger up close, maybe 2 miles long and covered in lights that pulsed like a heartbeat. When Jake got to his ship, he found something waiting for him. It was a small shuttle, silver like the big ships, sitting in the docking bay next to the Star Runner. Jake had never seen anything so beautiful. The shuttle had no sharp edges at all, and its surface seemed to flow like water. Jake walked up to the shuttle, and a door opened without any sound. Warm light spilled out, and Jake could smell something like flowers. A voice spoke from inside the shuttle, and Jake's heart jumped. It was Zara's voice, but deeper now, more confident. "Hello, Jake Miller. Will you come aboard? I have much to tell you." Jake looked back at the military ships that had followed him. Then he looked at the shuttle. He thought about the scared girl he had helped 10 years ago, and about the crystal around his neck. He stepped into the shuttle. The inside was nothing like any ship Jake had ever seen. The walls seemed to glow with soft light, and there were no visible controls or buttons anywhere. Comfortable chairs grew out of the floor, and the air felt clean and fresh. Zara was waiting for him. She was taller now, maybe 6 feet, and she carried herself like someone used to being in charge. Her blue skin was a deeper color, and her silver hair was longer, tied back in a style that looked royal. She wore clothes that seemed to be made of light itself, changing colors as she moved, but her eyes were the same, kind eyes that remembered what it was like to be hurt and afraid. "Hello, Jake," she said with a smile. "Thank you for coming. I was not sure you would remember me." "I never forgot you," Jake said. "I was worried about you. Are you okay? Did you find your people?" Zara's smile became sad. "I found them, yes, but it took many years and much fighting. I am Empress now, Jake. I rule over 30,000 worlds, but I never forgot the human who saved my life when he did not have to. Jake sat down in one of the chairs, trying to understand what she was telling him. Empress, you rule 30,000 worlds? Yes, it is a long story and we do not have much time. Your people are scared, and some of them want to attack my ships. I need to explain why I am here. Zara sat down across from Jake. Even though she was now a powerful ruler, she still seemed like the same person he had helped long ago. Jake, your world is in danger. There are things in space that want to destroy all life, and they are coming this way. I came to warn you and to offer help. But also, she paused. I came because I owe you a debt. You saved my life, and now I want to save yours. Jake stared at Zara, trying to understand what she was telling him. What kind of danger? What's coming? Zara touched a wall, and it became see-through like a window. But instead of showing space outside, it showed a map of the galaxy with thousands of tiny lights representing star systems. This is what we call the Void Syndicate, Zara said, pointing to a dark area on the map where there were no lights at all. They are not alive like you and me. They are machines that think, and they have one goal: to destroy all life in the galaxy. Jake watched as the dark area on the map seemed to move, swallowing up light after light. Those lights that are going out, those are worlds with people on them. We're worlds with people, Zara said sadly. The Void Syndicate does not just kill. They turn everything into more machines like themselves. They take the metal from planets, the knowledge from computers, even the bodies of the dead. Nothing is wasted. The map changed to show the area around Earth. Jake could see that the dark area was still far away, but it was moving in their direction. How long do we have? Jake asked. Maybe 5 years, maybe 10. They move slowly because they stop to destroy everything completely, but they will reach this part of space eventually. Jake felt sick. Why are you telling me this? What can Earth do against something that powerful? Zara smiled, and for a moment she looked like the young girl he had rescued. Because humans are special, Jake. More special than you know. She touched the wall again, and the map changed to show battle scenes. Jake watched alien ships fighting against dark, twisted vessels that looked like they were made from nightmares. For 50 years we have been fighting the Void Syndicate. We win some battles and lose others. Our ships are strong, our weapons are powerful, and our strategies are good. But we always fight the same way, because that is how we were taught. Battle scenes changed to show human ships. Jake recognized some of them as Earth Defense Force vessels, but they were fighting in ways that made no sense. Human ships were ramming enemy vessels, exploding their own ships to take out larger targets and using tactics that looked completely crazy. But humans think differently, Zara continued. Your military leaders sent these recordings to my fleet. When we arrived, they wanted to show us how Earth would defend itself. My generals watched these recordings and could not understand what they were seeing. What do you mean? Jake asked. Watch this, Zara said, pointing to one battle scene. Your ship is smaller and weaker than the enemy ship. The logical thing to do is run away or call for help. But instead, the human captain flies directly at the enemy and crashes into them. Both ships are destroyed, but the enemy ship was carrying important equipment. By sacrificing one small ship, the humans saved 10 larger ships. Jake nodded. Captain Rodriguez. He saved my convoy 2 years ago by doing exactly that. No other species would make that choice, Zara said. They would try to find a way to save their own ship first. But humans think about the bigger picture. You make choices that seem wrong but turn out to be right. Zara showed him more examples. Human engineers building weapons out of farming equipment. Human soldiers using music to confuse enemy computers. Human pilots flying in patterns that looked random but somehow worked perfectly. We call it chaos thinking, Zara explained. Most species, including mine, think in straight lines. If A happens, then we do B. But humans think in circles and spirals. You see connections that others miss. You find solutions that others never consider. Jake was starting to understand. You think humans could help you fight these void things? I think humans could help us win. Zara said firmly. But I cannot force your people to join us. That choice must be made freely. The shuttle grew quiet for a moment. Jake thought about everything Zara had told him. Earth was in danger, but they might also be the key to stopping that danger. What exactly are you offering? Jake asked. Zara's expression became serious, like she was giving an important speech. I offer Earth membership in the Kepler Union. Your people would be protected by our fleet. You would have access to our technology, our medicine, our knowledge. In return, Earth would help us fight the Void Syndicate. And if Earth says no, then we will respect your choice and leave. But when the Void Syndicate comes, you will face them alone. Jake thought about Earth's small fleet and simple weapons compared to what he had seen in the battle recordings. Humanity would not stand a chance alone. How long do we have to decide? He asked. 1 week. But Jake, there is something else you need to know. Not everyone in my empire wants me to make this offer. The wall showed a new scene. A great hall filled with aliens who looked similar to Zara but wore different clothes. Some of them were arguing loudly. These are my nobles and generals, Zara explained. Many of them think I am making a mistake. They believe humans are too primitive to be useful. Some want to simply conquer Earth and take what we need. Jake felt cold. What's stopping them? I am stopping them. But my power is not unlimited. If Earth rejects my offer, or if my nobles think I am weak, they might decide to act without me. They could remove me from power and take Earth by force. Now Jake understood why Zara had really come. This was not just about saving Earth from the Void Syndicate. It was also about proving that her way of leading was right. So this is a test, Jake said, for Earth and for you. Yes. If this alliance works, it will prove that different species can work together. If it fails, Zara did not finish the sentence. Jake looked out at the stars, thinking about everything he had learned. Earth was caught between two different kinds of aliens. Machines that wanted to destroy everything, and an empire that might help them or might conquer them. Why me? Jake asked. Why did you ask for me specifically? Zara smiled again. Because 10 years ago, you showed me that humans could be trusted. You helped me when you had no reason to help, when it would have been easier to turn me over to your authorities. If I am going to ask my people to trust humans, I need to start with a human I know I can trust. But I'm nobody special. I'm just a cargo pilot. You are exactly who we need, Zara said. You are not a politician or a general. You will not try to trick me or make deals that help only yourself. You saved my life because it was the right thing to do. That is the kind of human thinking we need. The shuttle began to move, heading back toward Luna Station. Through the clear wall, Jake could see Earth in the distance, blue and beautiful and completely unaware of the choice that was coming. What happens now? Jake asked. Now you go back to your people and tell them what you have learned. Help them understand what we are offering and what we are asking. In 1 week, your leaders will give me their answer. And if they say yes, then everything changes. For Earth, for my empire, and for the galaxy. We will stand together against the darkness, and maybe, just maybe, we will win. As the shuttle docked at Luna Station, Zara stood up to say goodbye. Jake Miller, I do not know if we will succeed. But I know that 10 years ago you gave a scared girl hope when she had none. Now I want to give that same hope to your world. Jake stood up too, still trying to process everything he had learned. The galaxy was bigger and more dangerous than he had ever imagined, but it was also full of possibilities he had never dreamed of. I'll do what I can, he promised. I know you will, Zara said. And Jake, keep the crystal I gave you. Where we are going, you might need it. The week that followed was the longest in human history. Jake found himself in meeting after meeting, explaining what Zara had told him to presidents, generals, and scientists. Some believed him right away. Others thought he was lying or had been tricked by the aliens. President Martinez of the American Federation listened carefully to Jake's story. Mr. Miller, what you're telling us sounds incredible. An empire of 30,000 worlds? machines that destroy entire civilizations. How do we know this alien empress is telling the truth? Because I knew her before she was an empress, Jake replied. She was just a scared girl running for her life. She could have taken revenge on the people who hurt her, but instead, she's trying to save everyone. General Patterson was less convinced. Even if she's telling the truth about this void thing, how do we know joining her empire won't make us slaves? Maybe it's better to fight for our freedom than live under alien rule. Dr. Cross had spent the week studying the recordings Zara had provided. The technology they've shown us is centuries ahead of ours. If they wanted to conquer us, they could have done it already. The fact that they're asking for our help suggests they really need us. The debates went on for days. Some countries wanted to accept Zara's offer immediately. Others wanted to fight both the aliens and the Void Syndicate. A few suggested trying to hide and hope both threats would pass Earth by. Jake tried to explain what Zara had told him about human chaos thinking, but many people did not understand. "You're saying we're useful because we're unpredictable?" asked Senator Williams. "That sounds like an insult." "It's not an insult," Jake said. "It's the thing that makes us special. Other species follow rules and patterns. We break rules and make new patterns. That's how we survive." On the 6th day, Earth's leaders were still arguing when something happened that changed everything. Jake was in his hotel room on Luna Station when all the alarms started going off. He ran to the window and saw something that made his blood freeze. 3 massive ships had appeared near Earth. But these were not like Zara's beautiful vessels. These ships looked like they were made from black metal and broken glass. They were covered in spikes and weapons, and they seemed to absorb light instead of reflecting it. Jake's phone rang. It was Dr. Cross. "Jake, get to the command center, now. We're under attack." The command center was chaos. People were running everywhere, shouting orders and trying to understand what was happening. On the main screen, Jake could see the 3 black ships moving toward Earth. They were smaller than Zara's ships, but still huge compared to anything humans had built. "What are they?" President Martinez asked. Admiral Kim, Earth's top military officer, was watching the scanner readings. "They're not responding to our communications. Their ships are covered in weapons we don't recognize. And they're heading straight for New York City." General Patterson turned to Jake. "Is this part of your friend's plan? Did she bring these things here?" Before Jake could answer, Zara's voice came over the communication system. "Earth Defense Force, this is Empress Zarathul. The ships approaching your world are Void Syndicate scouts. They are not part of the main fleet, but they are still extremely dangerous. We are moving to intercept, but we wanted to give you the choice of how to respond." Admiral Kim looked at the president. "Ma'am, our entire fleet is no match for one of those things, let alone 3. If we fight, we'll lose." President Martinez closed her eyes for a moment, thinking. Then she opened them and said, "Admiral, prepare our ships for battle. We won't hide while aliens decide our fate." Jake felt proud and terrified at the same time. This was exactly the kind of human thinking Zara had talked about, fighting even when victory seemed impossible, because it was the right thing to do. The battle began an hour later. Jake watched from the command center as Earth's ships moved out to meet the Void vessels. The human fleet looked like toys compared to the enemy, but they flew with courage and determination. The first exchange of weapons, fire lit up space like fireworks. The Void ships had powerful energy beams that could destroy a human ship with one hit. But the human ships were faster and more agile, darting around the larger vessels like angry wasps. Captain Lisa Wong of the battleship Freedom led the attack. Jake watched as she flew her ship in crazy patterns, sometimes flying straight at the enemy ships before turning away at the last second. Her tactics made no sense, but somehow they worked. The Void ships kept missing their shots because they could not predict where the human ships would go next. "She's using chaos theory," Dr. Cross said excitedly. "Look at her flight pattern. It looks random, but there's a hidden pattern that only works if you don't think about it logically." Meanwhile, Dr. Ben Carter on the research station had made an important discovery. The Void ships coordinate their attacks using computer signals, he explained over the radio. "If we can disrupt those signals, they won't be able to work together." How do we disrupt alien computer signals? Admiral Kim asked. With math, Dr. Carter replied. I'm going to broadcast mathematical sequences that are impossible to solve. Their computers will try to process the equations and get stuck in endless loops. It sounded crazy, but crazy was exactly what humans did best. Dr. Carter started broadcasting his mathematical chaos, and immediately the void ships began flying more slowly and missing even more shots. Captain Wong saw her chance. All ships, follow my lead. We're going to ram the lead ship. Jake held his breath as he watched the Freedom and 5 other human ships fly directly at the largest void vessel. It was suicide, but it was also brilliant. The void ship tried to turn away, but Dr. Carter's mathematical chaos had confused its computers. The ship moved too slowly. The Freedom crashed into the void ship's side, followed by the other human vessels. The explosions were huge, lighting up space for miles around. When the fire cleared, both the human ships and the void ship were gone. But the sacrifice had worked. The other 2 void ships, confused by the loss of their leader and still struggling with Dr. Carter's mathematical attack, began to retreat. They had come expecting an easy victory over a primitive species, but instead they had met something they could not understand or predict: human stubborn bravery. Zara's ships moved in to finish the job, destroying one of the retreating void vessels, and damaging the other so badly it could barely fly. The battle was over, but the cost had been high. Earth had lost half its fleet, including some of the best pilots and ships humanity had. Captain Wong and her crew were dead, along with hundreds of other brave people. But they had won. Against impossible odds, humanity had faced the Void Syndicate and forced them to retreat. In the command center, everyone was quiet. They had seen what humans could do when they worked together, but they had also seen the price of that courage. President Martinez was the first to speak. Get me Empress Zarathul on the communication system. When Zara's face appeared on the screen, she looked amazed and sad at the same time. President Martinez, I am sorry for your losses, but I am also impressed beyond words. My generals have been fighting the Void Syndicate for 50 years, and we have never seen tactics like that. You defeated them with ships that should not have been able to hurt them. Our people died today, President Martinez said, but they died proving that humans will not go quietly into the dark. Empress Zarathul, I am authorized to speak for Earth. We accept your offer of alliance. Jake felt his heart jump. Earth had made its choice. Zara smiled. Then let us begin building something new together. We have much work to do, and the real war is still coming, but after today I believe we can win. Later that night, Jake stood on the observation deck of Luna Station, looking out at the stars. Earth's remaining ships were flying alongside Zara's fleet, and alien and human crews were already working together to plan their next moves. The crystal around Jake's neck felt warm against his chest. 10 years ago, he had saved one life without thinking about the consequences. Today, that choice had helped save his entire world. But Jake knew this was just the beginning. The real test was still coming, and humanity would need all its courage and chaos thinking to survive what lay ahead. 6 months after the battle that changed everything, Jake stood on the bridge of a ship unlike anything he had ever imagined. The vessel was called the Unity, and it was built using both human and Kepler technology. The result was something beautiful and powerful, a ship that could think like a human but fight like an alien warship. Jake had been appointed as Earth's first ambassador to the stars, a job he never wanted but somehow felt perfect for. His cargo business was now run by his assistant Mary, while Jake traveled between Earth and the Kepler capital world, helping the two species learn to work together. It had not been easy. Humans and Kepler people thought differently about almost everything. Kepler engineers built things that lasted forever. Human engineers built things that could be fixed with spare parts and creativity. Kepler soldiers followed battle plans perfectly. Human soldiers changed their plans whenever they felt like it, but somehow it was working. Ambassador Miller, we're receiving a transmission from Captain Davis, said Lieutenant Chen, one of the human officers on the Unity's bridge. Jake smiled. Captain Pete Davis had been chosen to lead the first mixed human Kepler squadron. His ships were heading to a world called Theta 7, where Void Syndicate ships had been spotted. "Put him through," Jake said. Davis appeared on the main screen. Behind him, Jake could see both human and Kepler crew members working side by side. "Ambassador, we've got good news and bad news. Give me the good news first. We found the Void ships and we destroyed them. My Kepler partner said our tactics were completely insane, but they worked perfectly." Jake laughed. "And the bad news? There were a lot more Void ships than we expected. This wasn't just a small group. They're building something big out here, and it's heading toward the core worlds." Jake's smile faded. Intelligence reports had been saying the same thing for weeks. The Void Syndicate was gathering its forces for a final attack on the heart of the Kepler Union. If they succeeded, 30,000 worlds would fall. "How long do we have?" Jake asked. 3 months, maybe 4. "But Ambassador, I think I know how we can stop them." That evening, Jake met with Zara in her private quarters aboard the Unity. The room was designed to feel comfortable for both humans and Kepler people, with earth flowers growing next to alien plants that glowed with soft light. Zara had changed over the past 6 months. She was still the same person Jake had rescued, but now she carried herself with the confidence of someone who had united 2 different species in friendship instead of conquest. Her nobles no longer questioned her decisions, not after seeing what humans could accomplish. "Captain Davis has an interesting plan," Jake said, showing Zara the tactical reports on his tablet. Zara studied the information carefully. "He wants to attack the Convergence directly, the central command ship that controls all the other Void vessels." "It's crazy," Jake admitted. "The Convergence is protected by thousands of ships. Getting close enough to plant a virus in its systems would be suicide. But if it worked, it would end the war instantly," Zara said thoughtfully. "Without the Convergence to coordinate them, the Void ships would fight each other instead of us." Jake nodded. "Davis thinks we can do it if we use human chaos tactics on a large scale. Instead of one coordinated attack, we hit them with 100 different small attacks that make no sense individually but work together." Zara was quiet for a long moment, thinking. Finally, she said, "It is exactly the kind of plan that no Kepler general would ever suggest, which means it might be the only plan that could work." Over the next month, Jake found himself at the center of the biggest military operation in galactic history. Ships from 1,000 different worlds gathered in empty space, preparing for the final battle against the Void Syndicate. The human part of the fleet was small compared to the Kepler Armada, but their influence was everywhere. Human engineers had modified alien weapons to be unpredictable. Human tacticians had created battle plans that changed every few minutes. Human pilots had taught alien crews how to fly in patterns that made no logical sense, but somehow worked. Jake spent his time moving between ships, helping different species understand each other. He translated not just languages, but ways of thinking. When a Kepler admiral complained that human tactics were too random, Jake explained that random was the point. When human officers got frustrated with alien efficiency, Jake helped them see that both approaches were needed. The night before the battle, Jake couldn't sleep. He walked through the corridors of the Unity, visiting the different sections of the ship. In the human quarters, he found crew members playing cards and telling jokes, their way of dealing with fear. In the Kepler sections, he saw aliens meditating, quietly, preparing their minds for what was to come. Both species were scared, but they were facing their fear together. The battle began at dawn, ship time. Jake watched from the Unity's bridge as the largest fleet in galactic history moved toward the Convergence. The enemy had been expecting a traditional attack, with ships arranged in neat formations and predictable strategies. Instead, they got chaos. Human ships flew in spirals while Kepler vessels moved in straight lines. Some squadrons attacked the main fleet while others ignored it completely and went after supply ships. Engineers broadcast music, mathematical equations, and random radio signals that confused the Void computers. It was madness, but it was beautiful madness. Jake watched, Captain Davis led a mixed squadron of human and Kepler ships through the enemy fleet like they were dancing. The Void ships kept trying to surround them, but every time they thought they had the squadron trapped, the ships would do something unexpected and escape. Meanwhile, Dr. Carter, now aboard the science vessel Galileo, was working on the virus that would shut down the convergence. The virus was based on human creativity. It was a program that created new programs, each one more chaotic than the last. No computer, no matter how advanced, could predict what it would do next. The battle raged for hours. Ships exploded like fireworks against the darkness of space. Both sides lost vessels, but the Void Syndicate was losing more. Their perfect coordination was being destroyed by the beautiful chaos of human thinking combined with Kepler technology. Finally, Captain Davis managed to break through the enemy defenses around the convergence. His ship was badly damaged, barely holding together, but he had carried Dr. Carter close enough to upload the virus. "This is for Captain Wong and all the others who died defending our worlds," Davis said over the radio as he pressed the button. The virus spread through the convergence like wildfire. Within minutes, the massive command ship began turning its weapons on its own fleet. The other Void ships, confused by contradictory orders, started attacking each other. In less than an hour, the greatest threat the galaxy had ever known destroyed itself. But the victory came at a cost. Captain Davis's ship exploded just after uploading the virus. Dr. Carter's vessel was caught in the crossfire and destroyed. Hundreds of other brave people from dozens of worlds gave their lives to end the war. 1 year later, Jake stood in the memorial garden on New Geneva Colony. The garden was filled with flowers from 1,000 different worlds, each one representing someone who had died in the fight against the Void Syndicate. Human roses grew next to Kepler crystal flowers, and alien children played among the memorial stones while their parents worked together to build a better galaxy. Zara joined him at the memorial wall, where the names of the fallen were written in dozens of languages. They stood quietly for a moment, remembering friends who would never see the peace they had died to create. "Do you ever regret it?" Zara asked. "The quiet life you used to have?" Jake thought about his old life, flying cargo runs alone through empty space. It had been peaceful, but it had also been lonely. Now the galaxy was full of friends from species he had never dreamed of meeting. "No," he said finally. "Some changes are worth making." They walked together through the garden, past families from different worlds sharing meals and children speaking multiple languages as they played. The crystal Zara had given him so long ago was now displayed in the colony's cultural center, a symbol of how small acts of kindness could change the universe. "What happens now?" Jake asked. "Now we build," Zara replied. "We explore new worlds, learn from each other, and make sure something like the Void Syndicate never threatens the galaxy again." Jake looked up at the stars, no longer empty and distant, but full of possibilities. Somewhere out there, new species were waiting to be discovered. New challenges were waiting to be overcome. And thanks to the alliance between humanity and the Kepler Union, the galaxy would face them together. "I never thanked you properly," Zara said quietly. "For what?" "For showing me that the universe could be kind. For proving that helping others is always the right choice even when it seems pointless." Jake smiled. "You thanked me by giving me the greatest adventure anyone could ask for." As the twin suns of New Geneva set behind the mountains, Jake and Zara watched the first stars appear in the evening sky. Each light represented a world full of people who could sleep safely because two species had chosen to trust each other instead of fighting. It had all started with one cargo pilot who decided to help a scared girl, even though he didn't have to. Sometimes the most important decisions were the simplest ones. To be kind when you could be cruel. To help